Hey everyone, it's Michael. Today I'm going to be talking about another video game. The thing with this, of course, I have nothing in my hands. See, there's nothing up my sleeves because I don't have any sleeves except for these short things. Anyway, today I'm going to be talking about a video game that came out in 1996. It's Goosebumps Escape from Horrorland. Of course, it's a PC game, and I'm not like the biggest collector of video games. I love a lot of certain things that I was nostalgic over when I was growing up and stuff. But the thing is, like with Goosebumps games, right, some of them are hard to find. Like Attack of the Mutant, apparently, or whatever it's called. That one's apparently hard to find. But even if I did collect them, I wouldn't be able to play them, because I don't want to go through the whole installing, like, Windows 94 and 5 and stuff. So there's games like this that I'm not going to be able to play myself. But it was kind of okay with what ended up happening. Essentially, a guy, or a girl, I don't know, somebody on YouTube, once upon a time, did a playthrough with no commentary called Nintendo Complete. And you can watch basically either Attack of the Mutant or you can watch Escape from Horrorland, this particular game, being played, because it's just a point-and-click game. And I just wanted to experience it to see what it was like myself. I think with point-and-click games, it's a little bit easier to just go ahead and do a review on it, because you're not really missing out. You can't really comment on, like, gameplay and whatnot. But when it's a point-and-click game, that's not very difficult, in my opinion. But this is a game that I didn't know existed. Of course, I recently reviewed the actual game that I played on the PlayStation 2, Goosebumps HorrorLand, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was a really fun time. And I had found this when I typed in that on on IMDb, the website, that typically deals with movies and video games and TV and stuff. And I found out that there was a Goosebumps game called Escape from Horrorland, of course. And I decided to watch that playthrough just to see what it would be like. Ended up watching the whole thing. It was only like an hour and 6 minutes long. And when you're watching a point-and-click game that's made the way that particular 90s game and a lot of 90s games were like kind of made like this for the PC and stuff, they had kind of this movie quality to it. It kind of is almost like the Goosebumps TV show, honestly. This particular game, I don't know about Attack of the Mutant, but this particular game is a lot like watching a Goosebumps episode. I had a lot of fun. I had a really good time watching this. It wasn't like this amazing thing, you know? But for example, if you were let down with Goosebumps 1 and 2, the 2015 and 2018 films, you could watch this and probably get exactly what you wanted, because there's references to cameos and stuff. There's so much in this. To be an hour long, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. This is not based around the TV episode, because the TV episode, of course, cut out the little brother in the story's best friend, Clay. Clay is in here, so it's basically a sequel to the actual book, One Day at Horrorland. Of course, you have all the main characters, the brother and sister and the little boy that's the friend of the little brother, Clay, like I said. And they essentially get kidnapped and sucked back into Horrorland just out of nowhere from their neighborhood at nighttime. There's a lot of humor here. A lot of it is styled for kids. But I'm going to tell you, man, there's a couple of moments in here that either made me jump, just with a jump scare, which is kind of cheap, but the atmosphere and everything are developed so well that it really worked for me in a lot of ways. On a lot of different levels, this game works so well. Even as a point-and-click game, I think it has a lot going for it. It has the kind of very cheesy Goosebumps music, but not the same one from the TV show, like not the theme song and stuff. But it really works with what they did with it. I really, really enjoyed this. There were so many great moments, right? And I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't played the game itself or who hasn't seen a walkthrough or anything, who doesn't want to buy the game. I don't think I'll ever hunt down a copy of this just because. I just, you know, if I have something like a 3DS or a PlayStation game, then yeah, I'll totally grab it because I already have that. But a computer game that I can't play to begin with because I'm terrible at computer games and using a keyboard and mouse and stuff, probably not going to collect that, because I like to experience stuff and actually play the games and stuff, watch the movies, watch the DVDs, yeah. But again, you can sit down and watch this as if it was a movie, basically. The only thing, there's like a cursor of a finger like going all over the screen to move around and stuff, but for anybody who's not familiar with a lot of 90s games, of course, like I said, this came out in 1996, and it had the same style of development that a lot of games had for like the PC and stuff, especially the point-and-click community, like I said earlier in my review. They had this whole thing where they would have like live-action kids but they would have like CGI backgrounds. And to me, I always liked that. I always thought it looked awesome. There are certain games I've seen like Game Grumps play that I think this looks really cool. I really enjoy it. I have a lot of fun watching games that are made like this. It adds this weird feeling to it. And of course, in this game, you don't play as Clay or the brother or sister in this story. You actually play as your own self in the story, you know, hanging out with those kids, getting sucked into the story. And there's a lot of humor, like I said, but there are moments that are genuinely not just jump scares, but the atmosphere and the eeriness of the story at times really add something here. I'll give you two great instances, right? There is a lot of comedy in here, but there is one moment where there is a werewolf chase. And you have to run in the woods in HorrorLand. I didn't even know there were woods in HorrorLand or surrounding HorrorLand. And it was awesome. It was such a cool, fun type thing that would have been really neat to see in a film. A really cool sequence. And like the werewolf itself is basically, from what I can tell, just a guy dressed up in a costume. But the costume looked awesome. There's a lot of costumes in here. People dressed up like the scarecrow that walks at midnight, which I'll also get to in a moment. There's costumes for the horrors that work in HorrorLand. It really surprised me on the relatively decent budget that was put into this, from what I can tell. I mean, it might have been really low budget, I don't know. But it looked cool to me. I think from my own cheesy 90s born self, I think it looks cool. I really dug it. I had a really fun time. The environments, even though they're CGI, and even with kids on the live action screen and stuff, the live action doesn't blend entirely well with the CGI, nor does it ever really with games like this that are designed to look like this. And yet, again, it adds that Goosebumps cheese that we all love, that charm to it. You know, that low-budget feel that Goosebumps always has in the TV episodes. And it works. It works so well. It's like a higher-budget episode. And it's real odd. I don't know how to explain it, but it was just fun. And then I'll kind of get to another point that I really enjoyed in the game, too. There is a sequence where you're walking down towards a barn, basically, and you come across a bunch of pumpkins. And for whatever reason, when you click on the pumpkins with your cursor in the game, they make an utterance, right? And then you start realizing that what it is that they say certain syllables to a sentence. And it actually spells out a title of a book from the Goosebumps series, mainly the classic era, because that's what was coming out at the time when this was coming out, or when this game came out. And it was such a smart, fun puzzle, you know? I really dug that. I thought that it had a lot going for it. The atmosphere and stuff, like I said, the music and eeriness to it really works for me. The set designs, even though they're CGI based for a world and all that, I really dig that stuff. Like I said, the stuff with the forest for the werewolf chase was awesome. I won't spoil anything else. I just thought I'd talk about those two things. They don't really spoil the plot, because the whole point of the plot is literally just escaping HorrorLand. Sometimes you get separated from the other kids, sometimes you don't. It's not the most complicated thing. It's basically just a kid's game. And yet, if you're a fan of Goosebumps, I think you're missing out if you skip this. It was a really fun time, in my opinion. I had a great time. The acting is not very good, nor was it in the Goosebumps HorrorLand game for PlayStation 2 I recently reviewed. But that's not my whole point. Goosebumps has never really had the best acting, except for in the two films that come out in 2015 and 2018. But this was just fun. This was just plain and simple a fun game, in my opinion. Again, a lot of people aren't fans of point-and-click games. I'm a fan of every kind of game, basically. I prefer first-person shooters, but I like stuff that are like arcade games like Pac-Man, and I love things like Doom, which is a FPS, but still. I like a lot of different types of games, and I enjoy a lot of arcade-style type things. So when I see something like point-and-click, especially when it's horror point-and-click, I have a lot of fun with stuff like that, and I really enjoy watching it. Even games that are sort of like that, like Amnesia, for example, with Markiplier playing it, that was always fun to watch. But yeah, man, I recommend this game. It was pretty fun. Like I said, if you don't want to buy it, just look it up online. You don't have to worry about trying to install stuff from 1995 or 6 or anything like that. It was a really cool time. I enjoyed it a lot. I think if you want just to try it and just to experience it, look it up on YouTube. Watch Nintendo Complete's actual walkthrough, playthrough, whatever you'd like to call it of it. I think you'll have a good time. Like I said, I really dug this. It was a fun time. It was a cool thing to release for Goosebumps fans, mainly kids, which is pretty much the fan base at that time. It was kind of cool to me how well this would be as a tribute. Like, there was even one sequence, right? I don't know if this is confirmed as Curly, right? We know Curly the skeleton. There's like one scene towards the end of the game where you open up a random door in a hallway that has like a bunch of doors, and there's a skeleton taking a bath, and when it turns its head and sees you looking in at it where it's supposed to be naked, but it doesn't have any skin, so it doesn't really matter, it starts screaming at the top of its lungs. Now, I know this joke has been done in every single kid's film ever, not just with a skeleton, but just like this joke. Minions probably did it at some point. It worked. I don't know why. It made me grin. You know, it worked. But, yeah, guys, what do you think about this game? Have you ever played Goosebumps Escape from Horrorland? What do you think about it? Put your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. It probably seems like a relative cop-out to sit here and say that I haven't played the game, but I watched it. That's not really fair to do a review in a lot of people's opinion. But for me, it's a point-and-click game. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I love walkthroughs anyway, especially the no commentary ones when it comes to horror games like Silent Hill and stuff, because it adds that atmosphere so well. It's like watching a movie. But anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on Goosebumps Escape from Horrorland? Put your thoughts down below, like I said. When it comes to rating Goosebumps Escape from Horrorland on a 5-star basis, I think I would give this a 4 out of 5. It was really well done, in my opinion. It's like I said, it's a point-and-click movie type thing. It's not really a game, honestly. And the puzzles aren't that difficult. They're made for kids. You know, they're not like Silent Hill Homecoming Cube level. Anybody who knows what I'm talking about knows how much of a struggle that was. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. 4 out of 5 stars for me. What are your thoughts? Thank you so much, and may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today. And goodbye.